Hello, everybody. Welcome all back. I think we're on time. Are we on time? I think we're on time. We're only a little late. Should only be a little late. Well,
you're not late.
We're technically an hour late. I didn't realize this for all the American people watching, but thank you for coming back an hour later. We're daylight savings this weekend. This is an awful week with the 5-hour changes to 4-hour and all that. But thanks everyone for coming by. Thanks Darg. Thanks Clout. Oh yes, and Clout, chapter 16. You were correct. I wasn't I wasn't muted. Let me know how the audio's sitting. Had my settings changed for a wee bit last night. I was hanging with stool, but just let me know other than that. Thank you. As I say, Red Pill, Dargan, Logan, we've got Clout. I think that's about it. Oh, Nanlu's here. Hi, Nanlu. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll be doing the usual thing. Richard, for all the new people, would you like to give them a wee quick synopsis of who you are and what we're doing?
Who I am is pretty irrelevant, but I'm fully persuaded. I want to persuade others that the most reasonable and consistent reading for these ancient religions is ancient human astronauts go around changing existent M-class planets to be an Earth for their children so that their children might suffer, to give them a comparative between this and a utopian society. That was pretty quick.
It was also slightly wrong.
Why?
Why? Well, for a start, you're using an M-class planet, and under our definition and the way we're talking, an M-class planet would be too advanced for your species.
What? An M-class planet isn't too advanced. It's perfect for renovations.
You're just using a Star Trek term, though.
No, I mean the way we use that in the M zone, M-class.
M-class planet is a classification.
Is that a bad way to say it?
No, well, M-class planet puts across an idea and shit like that, but I think the definition of an M-class planet would have life on it. Some sort of life.
Oh.
Whereas your definition, there must be nothing and it must be barren. An M-class planet doesn't start off with nothing. Doesn't start off and need atmosphere and all that shit added to it. What you're talking about is
what
probably...
should I call it?
Well, I think it's a Z or a Y-class planet, according to the definition of Star Trek.
I thought it was just the right kind of star at the right distance, about the right size, at about the right rotation. I didn't know it had all those qualifiers.
Yeah, I think
bad definition.
Yeah, I think M-class planet means at least basically livable. There's oxygen on it. There's plants on it. There's basic, really basic life. But M-class, I think what you're talking about is Y or Z class. If we're using the Star Trek classification, which would be, can get on it. It's a bit rough, but there's some potential here. We're talking Earth. If we were going by secular belief, what young Earth was like, that would be Y and Z sort of classification.
I'm going to start calling them pre-Goldilocks. How's that?
That could work. We have we've got Gur here. We've got Dargendorp in the chat dissecting my dissection of your definition.
Definitions are difficult. Yeah. Especially if we have individual definitions and understandings. And of course, I'm subject to that as much as anyone else is. Mm-hmm. My understanding of M-class just meant distance to the right kind of star. So, bad definition. Moving on then.
Moving on. Hey, Spooky.
So just go back and erase, delete.
It's Control Alt Delete
or whatever. Control Alt Delete the phrase M-class. Replace with phrase pre-Goldilocks, and continue on, and the whole thing works.
No. Pre-Goldilocks.
No?
Goldilocks defines a distance from the sun. So
yes,
the sun...
It has to be a certain distance from a sun, yeah.
Yes, but the distance from the sun, apart from natural changes due to moving away and gravity and all the rest of it, that doesn't really change,
You have to hit it at the right time. There is a zone of distance you have to hit to have an Earth, yes.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, calling it pre-Goldilocks, I don't think the Earth ever existed without being in the Goldilocks zone. It was always in the Goldilocks zone. It just took a wee while to develop.
Goldilocks zone, yes, but being a Goldilocks planet, no, it wasn't always like this. Fair enough?
Okay, we're fighting over words. I feel like Steve McRae.
It's literally semantics, which
Yeah.
I enjoy. I like semantics. I really do. I think words are important, and how you use them matter.
So, let us know about the audio and stuff if it's going well. And
You're not going to correct me and say how you use them matters? Come
What?
on, man. Didn't you catch that? I left off an S on purpose. You didn't even comment on it.
On what?
I said words are important, and the way you use them matter.
Oh, matter.
When I should have said matters.
Yes. No, I didn't listen to that.
Yeah, you're too busy.
I'm trying to relax.
Where are we?
Where are we? Well, I'm in Northern Ireland. Where are you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, United States.
Get your ass to St. Louis for New Year's.
North America, this Earth, in the Milky Way galaxy.
It's gonna.
He's gonna live, everybody. Just relax. This is not a heart attack. It's just too deep of an inhale.
That. Yeah, I was gonna say you nearly forgot the Milky Way galaxy, but then you didn't.
No,
and then I nearly died.
Which is close on to the. Which is close on to the Andromeda.
Right,
near the Andromeda, nearer than anything else.
Usual cracking, some announcements and all that usual bollocks. I'll be in America over the New Year's period and Christmas. If anyone's about, I do want to meet you. I would like to get something organized. And yeah, Savage knew before you did, Mother. So on that, Richard, would you grace us with your beautiful voice while I go and die in the corner?
Certainly. And continuing on at 11. 11. Yeah, which means 11 should be near the top. And they blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores and repented not of their deeds. And then after that, we got into a conversation about why atheists would bother to kill this guy who thinks he's Jesus, that a lot of people think he's Jesus. And moving on. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, so that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Which I think kings of the east right here is a pat phrase that should be capitalized like a movie title, capital K and capital East. Capital E. That this is nearest the end of this series in the sixth vial out of 7, and Great River Euphrates would be referring to all the large bodies of water on the planet. Go ahead, sir.
I'm a little excited to read the next phrase because I've something to say. So if you want to.
Okay, well let me just wrap this up real quick, and we'll read the next one right away. This is removal of the bodies of water is why no island will be found, why the mountains melt like wax, why it turns into a lake of fire, the physical planet, not talking about hell at all. And Christians conflate that falsely, not being able to justify the lake of fire that way. 13, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Go ahead. I know this is killing you.
3.
No, you got 6.
It says there 3.
Yeah, 6.
The mouth of the dragon,
Mm-hmm.
the mouth of the beast,
Mm-hmm.
and the false prophet.
I'm doing my homework. I promise you. I believe this is 2 different kinds of and although in English we don't have as many words as they do in the Arabic nation in Judaism,
Okay.
we don't have the same amount of words, and a lot of things got translated into the English in generalities. And is one of those things. I'm sorry, the Greek.
Fine.
And is one of those things.
Fine.
Okay. So and can mean 2 things in English. And those 2 things are aside from that and in addition to that. And can mean either of these 2 things.
Aside from, meaning
Yeah.
this is something else aside from that.
Right.
Or
In addition to.
In addition to, so adding on to the thing that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 3 people. I don't give a shit about the word and. It's clearly written down that there's 3. You could have no and, you could have no its, you could have no theirs, you could have no tits, whatever the fuck. There's
Really?
3. Beast.
Let's try it that way.
There's beast. There is the dragon and the false prophet. Now, I'm using it in the English language to describe it. In addition to, there is a third thing.
Let's try it the way you just suggested we could. Let's try that. Let's eliminate the word and completely and read it again.
I'm not a scholar. I don't know if that'll make any difference. But if that is actually closer to your translation, then you can do that and it'll suit you. But I don't know if you can do that.
No, I'm taking your suggestion. You said the and doesn't matter. Let's take it out.
I was being sarcastic to what you said because you pointed out the
I'm willing to do it because it makes my point.
Yeah, I know. It makes your point. It doesn't mean that either of us are scholars and we can take out this, that, and the other. We can't just take out words.
No, you can't. You can't just take out words, but this is a translation, which means you're not affecting the original text by taking out words.
Again, you're making the point that the scholars and the translators and the people who went through this are wrong. You are correct. Again.
When have I not said that?
I know
I've always said that. You're not strawmanning me. You are steel-manning my position. Yes, that's my position.
Right. The Bible does not matter. That's the Bible doesn't
King
matter.
James, the NIV, no, none of those matter. Those are translations.
And they only suit you, and you only use the Bible when the translation suits you. And when it doesn't suit you, you change it.
I don't use the Bible at all. Except
you don't use the Bible at all? That's a lie. We've been doing this for 4 years.
Except for a way to refer to the original ideas. That's all I use it for.
It is your main. That's like saying I only use my car for driving.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
I only use the car for the thing that I designate it for.
Okay, let me go through my whole argument.
You do not need to go through your whole argument.
Yes, I do, because you've asked for it.
I didn't.
So, okay, if the church fathers had prayed, then they'd all agree, unless the Holy Spirit's a liar. In which case, throw out all of it. All of it if the Holy Spirit's a liar.
All right, give it a loaded question. Keep going.
So the secularists only talk about the same view as the church fathers had. That's all they talk about. They only don't have the same truth value and faith in the stories. They talk about it exactly the same way. So the church fathers and the secular scholars agree on the meanings of the words. Yes or no?
No.
Obviously, yes. Well, how do they not agree on the meanings of the words?
I'm sure that, well, I'm not in this field, but I guarantee you the fucking reason that there's a ball of different versions, including the NIV and the King James and all these here, that people do not agree on the translations.
No. They are translating according to their churches, and then secular scholars talk about the way the church fathers and translators looked at it. Compare that to reality and history. The only difference is their assessment of the truth value of the overall ideas.
Oh.
The secular scholars agree with the church fathers.
I'm not going to say that there's a consensus between everybody agreeing that the words from the Bible and the original translated into English and everyone agrees to it being the same. I'm not going to make that statement because they don't, because there's multiple different versions.
That's not a problem. Okay, I dismiss all of that because the secularists are talking about what the church fathers are talking about, and the church father, one could be right, could be, but it's more likely that all of them are wrong. I can throw all of that away from the start, and it's not unjustified.
But then why do we do this? Why do you spend all your time?
That's plausible. I'm talking about something plausible in reality here. Something consistent within itself. Something that has predictive power. Something that's not self-defeating. It's not logically inconsistent.
Richard, it's self-defeating in the fact that when it defeats itself in the text, you disagree with it.
No, I'm disagreeing with the translation. which
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the most original texts we have. Nothing at all. Because those translations, including this one we're reading from, is a result of a church.
Thank you, Bree.
Peace and respect, Bree. Check out Bree's channel. Extremely informative, and also Cryptomaria. Peace and respect.
Right. When you talk to me, I ain't got no degree. I ain't talked to no biblical scholars from back in the day or anything like that there. I'm giving you my opinion and my thoughts and how I see it. Now, yes, okay, it may be influenced from the little bit of Christianity that I was into when I was younger and all this shit. But I generally come at this listening to you.
Yeah.
Generally come at this with an open point of view. So saying to me that you must use the Bible to convey your thoughts and a method of translation or whatever it is to me, like you can say that with all these other people, but not to me. You don't need the Bible with me. We've talked about this shit without the Bible.
Yeah, I know. This is a reference guide. That's all it's good for, is a reference guide. It's nothing more than a glossary. In my view, I can talk about this all day long on the ideas in the Bible, and I mean, to the point that channels I go on to, aside from your own, where we have honest conversation, they'll go, how the hell did you think of that? Why are you thinking? You asked too many questions. What are you trying to do here? People ask me things like that because I'm not just reading the King James or the NIV or something. That's not what I'm doing. I'm only using it as a glossary.
That's fine. I don't think you're seeing the correlation, all right? I'm trying to make the correlation that when a Christian says to me, here's a story, here's evidence, here's my proof, God exists, the Bible's just a book. We use it as a guide to get to heaven. It's not correct. It's just a glossary. It's our guide.
Sure.
Christians will say this, and I'll say to them, and other atheists, and a lot of people come in and do the whole fucking meme answer bullshit, where they're like, well, the Bible says this, and it says you murder babies, and it says all this bullshit. And this person then disagrees with them because of their translation of the Bible. And they say, it doesn't say that. So the correlation I'm making, were you screaming about it being plausible, all right? It's still very highly improbable at the minute, okay?
Sure.
So just saying that aliens is more probable than God, and when asked to talk about how you get this and you use the Bible, the correlation I'm making is you're as full of shit as another Christian, because when they don't like it, they change what it says. And you do the same.
That seems relatively fair on its face, I have to admit. And I think the difference between the Christians that I have met, which is not all of them, and myself, is that they ignore parts of the text. What they assert about the text is not plausible in reality, that it is self-defeating in logic, that it has no predictive power. And these are how we measure whether or not something is true.
And I could apply all of them to you.
No, you can't. You absolutely cannot. That was a false assertion.
Right, well, this is self-defeating. When it defeats itself, you change what it means, so it's not self-defeating in your story.
No.
And your justification is the book is a glossary, my story is right.
Yeah, the book is I can only use the King James, etc. for a glossary. When I go back to the Masoretic, when I go back to Torah, when I go back to the Nevi'im, when I go back to the Greek lexicon, the definitions agree with what I'm saying.
In your mind, your opinion.
What do you mean in my mind?
So
I don't
the
get to write
scholars,
those definitions.
the scholars, the people who write this shit, you say they're wrong.
Yep.
Yes. So you, in your mind, from your opinion and how you read it, are right.
It's the most likely answer. Yeah, I'm convinced by it.
You're convinced by it.
Sure.
If everybody thought that you were correct, we'd all be talking about aliens.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
The scholars don't. I never said there's anything wrong with it. You're not answering questions. You're giving me other questions, two questions. You're not getting the clarification I'm making.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a question.
The Bible, the Christians look at this, like, ring off what you just said there. Bible, self-defeating. Christians look at it, they mistranslate it. You Self-defeating, just proved it, disagreed with it. Mistranslations, you disagree with the translation of the literal fucking book that you agree with. You have the same things that you're listing off. These attributes that you're ascribing to Christians, you have them as well.
You can look at it that way. I don't think I do.
I know you don't look at it that way because you are convinced
obviously.
that aliens are real and this is probable. So the fact that it's probable makes it a definite thing when it doesn't.
No, that's not it. That's not. It's not just that it's. And I don't say probable. I say possible.
You act and tell everybody that this is probable. You may say possible, but you act like this is definitely 100% going to happen. You tell everybody it's a predictive thing.
Okay.
You think this is probable. Whether you say possible or not, to be pedantic, you believe that it is definitely going to happen and very
I'm
probable.
convinced, yeah. My persuasion level, as Dragnot Silva says, we can't conflate someone's confidence in a claim with the veracity of the claim. So I am perfectly confident, and this is another Sammy Jenkins, and I respect what he said. I'm not making fun of the man. I have to make it clear that what I say, and in fact what everyone says, unless they're lying outside of themselves, but they would know they're lying, speak what they believe is true. And they speak it with confidence because they believe it's true. I'm speaking about what I believe that I am confident in, which does not make a thing true. It just means I'm fully persuaded. Now, you might or might not become persuaded by the same things, but I know of no other measure of what is true other than it's not logically self-defeating. It has predictive power. It's coherent within itself. It corresponds to reality. I don't know how else to measure something. If you know another way, I'd like to hear it.
Okay. Just ringing off the list again and just, hey, Badger.
That's why we think things are true. I'm not pulling your leg.
Yeah, and you can apply them to this, man. From the point,
Yes.
like, what gives you validity over the fucking agent that watches Ancient Aliens? What makes you more fucking...
It's not self-defeating. It's logically plausible. It corresponds to reality. It's coherent within itself. That's why.
Okay, there you go. Just repeating them again and not seeing the point that I'm trying to make.
I know. I don't know why you asked me the question.
You align yourself with the title of Christian. You treat this as a religion. You move forward with this and tell all these people these things that you believe in because you believe in heaven and your version of the spaceship and all of that.
Sure.
You align yourself with a Christian. You don't go out and tell people you're an ancient alien believer. You specifically go out of your way to change that. You want to be tied in with the Christians. You want to be seen as a different person.
I also identify as Islamic, Buddhist, Native American Zuni, Aboriginal Australian.
And do you go online all the goddamn time and quote their scriptures?
I'm reading the Quran right now and looking at ancient scholarship on the Quran to argue the Quran with Quranics.
Is that a word?
Yes, it is.
Quranics.
Yes. People who assign value to the Quran, they're Quranic.
Just sounds like chronic, which is a weird
I know.
term.
It's funny. I didn't get to turn the phrase, but yeah, it's funny. In fact, I made a joke the other day on one of the Islamic channels. What do you call a guy who's an avid marijuana smoker who also believes the Quran is true? And then I spelled it Quranic with an O instead of A.
Only thing that makes you different is how you talk and all. You align yourself with Christians. You use Christianity and shit like that to go forward, Richard. And you can say yes, okay, fine. You talk a wee bit of Muslims with some Muslims, but
no, I argue with Native American Indians, people of no religion whatsoever, Australian people who have met some Aboriginals. I'll argue with anybody about their view of it. It's not just Christians. I just happen to be, in an English descent society, speaking to someone in an English descent society.
I don't
the most prevalent book
Right.
and expression is the Bible.
Okay, I'm going to try and make it real clear. Right.
What?
I give your story from this point of view as much validity as a Christianity story. And you screaming that it's possible in reality. Okay, yeah, aliens can be there. They could be fine. It's not self-defeating. In your mind, it's not self-defeating because when you see something that disagrees with you, you change it. Go on ahead.
I don't get to change it. What are you talking about?
You just... Okay.
I've looked up words with you while we were having these conversations and shown you. And I can do that with every single word.
You literally have said twice on stream tonight that you have homework to try and figure out yourself why it says...
No. To explain to you your misunderstanding. I don't have a problem.
You said last week you'd never thought of it from that point of view, and this is why you're going out of your way to research it. You've never had this problem because you've never thought about it.
Yes, I could not have naturally seen it in an overall context the way you looked at it. Open-minded? Sure, that's open-minded. Congratulations. However, the word "and" there means in addition to, not aside from. And you being able to read it as aside from is magical and wonderful and open-minded. I congratulate you. But why can't you see there's two different meanings of "and"? And that's a plausible solution to the entirety of the question. So I've agreed to make you explain it thoroughly. And yes, I'm making a chart, which, by the way, you're too intelligent to need.
Okay.
You don't need that chart. You should just be able to go, oh, I see that.
If somebody writ Jimmy Bob, Billy Bob, and Dilly Bob, I'm not going to think that them three people are the same person. Whether there's an "and" in there... No, you've interrupted me a few times. I'm going to get my fucking thought out, right? Even if there's no "and," "its," or "buzz," or anything in the middle of it. If you write Jim Bob, Billy Bob, and Dilly Bob, I'm going to think that you're talking about three people. Specifically, if earlier in the text, there was a description of three people as well. So this is the second time in two different forms, written two different ways, in two different parts, where it's described three people. So regardless of the word "and," I'm going to think that Billy Bob, Dilly Bob, and Jimmy Bob, three different people. Fuck "and."
Did you also identify that Billy and Dilly mean exactly the same thing? Or do they mean different things?
No, they're descriptions of... See, you're making them the same. You're saying... No, they're different. Because they're described differently in the basic story where I'm talking to you. You don't need to know... I haven't give you my context. We don't know the author. We don't know what they were thinking at the time or anything like that. We can only go by what's written. So in the story, Billy Bob, Jimmy Bob, Dilly Bob, three different things, three different people. No "and," no ifs, no buts. That's the way the person writing it chose to do that. Now, if they wanted me to understand that Billy Bob and Jimmy Bob were the same, they should have. They didn't in this. They left it open to interpretation, which most people disagree with you.
Appeal to majority fallacy aside...
Are you serious? Right, so if I... Okay, fine. That's really fucking... That's just fucking assholish. You want me to appeal to a majority? When I appeal to people in the scholars and shit like that spend their days doing, number one, it's justified. You're talking about fucking aliens and making mad statements. Okay? So because you justify and change it, you're like, oh, I'm fine. Fallacy. He's doing a fallacy. Fuck you and your fallacy. Listen to what I'm fucking saying, man. Don't be ignorant and make small jabs at me. Alright? I've listened to you now make 3 or 4 small jabs at me and then follow it up with, but you're smart enough you don't need a spreadsheet. You're still making digs at me. We're trying to have a conversation here. Trying to get to a point. And you not understanding what I'm coming across and saying Bob, Jimmy Bob, and Dilly Bob, and all this fucking shit that you're coming with. I'm describing it as 3 different words. 3 different things. And you're saying it's not. And because I say, well, everybody reads 3 different words as 3 different words, you say I'm doing a fucking majority fallacy. It's called opening your fucking eyes and looking. 3 words there. Most people take it as 3. That is not a fucking majority appeal or a fallacy or bullshit. That's fucking written in front of me.
I am taking jabs at you and having fun with it, by the way.
No, when you insult my intelligence, that's not funny. I don't mind you calling me ugly. I don't mind you calling me this, that, and the other. But when you make a dig at me and then follow it up with...
So when I say crazy things, to quote you, when I make ridiculous claims, to quote you, and by the way, more than just tonight, by the way, I mean, what do I need to say here? Alien overlords? How many times have I heard that?
Yeah, because you choose to align yourself with Christians rather than going around and telling everybody you're an ancient alien guy, because you'll get more validity and more respect if you go forth as a Christian.
That's the same thing. No, I enter conversations from the perspective of the person I'm having the conversation with. What else should I do?
I never said that. Now, don't answer my question with another fucking loaded question. I directly asked you a simple question. No, I'm getting annoyed because I keep asking you questions and you keep changing it. Simple. Will you get more respect going forth and telling people that you have a slightly different version of Christianity, or will you go forth and get more respect telling people that you believe that fucking aliens built the pyramids?
Obviously, the first one would be preferable to start a conversation with.
Yeah. All right, we all shout alien overlords because that's what you are. You are an ancient alien guy who aligns himself with Christianity. We spent 4 years, me and you personally, where you were aware that to try and get your point across, sometimes you need to say aliens, because people don't get you, and you waste 45 minutes talking about religion from a Christian point of view, a Muslim point of view, or using these texts, when at the end of the day, it's fucking aliens you're talking about. It's your opinion.
That's one and the same thing to me. I don't know how a Christian maintains that angels aren't aliens. I don't know. I guess they just don't think about it.
All right.
But I don't know how I didn't answer. If I didn't answer your question, would you restate it? Because maybe I missed it. Because you said that.
No, I'm not going to go around in another circle and have the hand coming up for your validation where you don't have an argument or a discussion with me, where I say something and rather you trying to understand, you just ring this shit off 3 and 4 times, and then I ask you another, try and discern it a different way, and you ring off the same answer 4 times. You're not listening to me, you're just giving your answer. Right?
Okay.
So, you want to move on with the next one.
I'm sorry if you do see it that way.
That's literally what you did. I asked you it, I changed its format, tried to get you to understand more, and you just cut me off, did this, and didn't listen to me. So,
you said the same thing several times. You said the same thing several times.
It's my autism, man. I have sometimes problems with words and describing them, but like, it says 3 people, I'm going to take it as 3 people. I don't know if you can't grasp that. Like, I'm sorry if I'm not using the correct words.
I think I don't grasp.
You know,
I think I grasp it fine. In a surface reading of this can easily be seen as describing 3 different beings. I have no problem with that.
All right, it's just wrong.
Okay. I mean, I don't think there's something wrong with me saying that there was a show on MathPig with Robbie and Richard. Because 2 of those were the same person. It's not 3 people.
I was on a show with Robbie and Richard. Who's talking?
MathPig and Robbie, same person.
Okay. Are you under the aware and the knowledge from this and knowing me that MathPig and Robbie are the same person?
Yes, because of context.
Because of context, right. Well, in this story, the context, as I pointed out previously in the story, was another description of 3 people. So that's the context. It's now described 3 people twice. It hasn't taken an opportunity to say this person and this person are the same, because like, they could have done that. They could have flat out said it, which they didn't. They continued in multiple times to describe it as 3 people. If I told you multiple stories about MathPig and Robbie and you, nobody would know. And most people listening to that story would think 3 people. Now, that's not a fucking appeal to fallacy or whatever. That's simply the fact that I'm talking about 3 people, you're going to think 3 people. Until I give you the clarification that they're the same, you're not going to know. And the only person that knows they're the same is you, because of the translation that you give it and your interpretation.
So when you read that old devil and Satan, is that 2 different beings?
You're just asking me a question until I go to your point. We've just agreed that if I continue to read it, again, Richard, asking me, do I think that this old devil and Satan is the same person? Yes, because I know that, because I've been told that all my life. These are different terms. You could say Beelzebub, I'd know you were talking about Satan. You could say Lucifer, I'd know you're talking about Satan, because it's already up here.
Right. So what's
the person reading this book didn't already have the knowledge up here. The person reading the book is getting the information from the book.
Yeah.
And the book has continued to describe 3 people.
Okay. It uses this form several times. And we end up with the word and that's not, the rest of the times it's not talking about a multiplicity of beings. And I don't see why I have to take this as a multiplicity of beings just because it used the word and.
I didn't say that. In fact, I literally took the word out and said, willy dilly, belly dilly, jelly dilly. You keep using these 3 people with no and, you're going to think they're 3 people.
Yes, on a surface reading, I agree. It looks like that.
I'm not fixated on the word and. I'm fixated on the fact that it continues to describe 3 people.
Fine. Keep it.
All right. It keeps doing it. It keeps describing them as 3 people. And when you telling me that that's not right, that you're right, and when I say it because I'm agreeing with everyone else, it's a fallacy. It's not my opinion. I'm not thinking for myself. I'm a fucking sheep. I'm lining up with the fucking Christians and I haven't got my own fucking mind because I'm thinking the same as everyone else. That's an insult to me and not funny.
I didn't directly say that. I only indicated it.
Yeah, well, that's not funny. It's not a jokey insult. I'm not a fucking sheep. I think for myself. And when someone does that and insults me in that way, I take it personal. Because I'm not.
I think you do on most things. Think for yourself.
See? There's your little jabs. You couldn't just agree with me and move on through the text. You had to get the dig in and go, I'm still right. You're still wrong. Because in this incident, this is one of the incidences where you're wrong, Robbie. Thanks.
Did I give you an example from the text where it uses it the opposite way, the way that I think it's using it consistently? Are you inconsistent or are you consistent? Are you cherry picking the text or not?
I'm cherry picking the text. Now you're asking 3 different questions to answer my question and just going round and round and round and round and round in circles. I literally just said to you that we could end this and read the fucking thing. And you agreed with me and then got a dig in and says, well, most of the time you're right. This time you're not. Continue in the fucking thing.
I think we all have our biases. I think I do too.
Mm-hmm. I'm insulting people's intelligence because they won't agree with you. That's good. Yeah.
That's not why.
No, that's not why. So why are you insulting my intelligence then? Is there a different reason?
Yeah, to make you think about yourself.
Yeah. I think about myself all the fucking time. I'm very self-aware. I don't think Christian thoughts. I don't go, let's talk about a Christian point of view with Richard tonight. I go and I talk about you with this and all the rest of it. So you insulting my intelligence is just an insult. It won't make me think. Treating me and saying to me that I'm a fucking sheep like all the rest of the fucking Christians out there, that's an insult. It's not funny. All right?
You're not having fun, are you?
No, I'm not. Because I'm continually my intelligence is continually being criticized. My opinion on how I'm approaching this with you is being criticized because you're aligning me and putting me in the same box as all these other people who don't think for themselves. And I take pride in the point that the whole fucking channel name is Think For Yourself. And you're telling the person whose tagline is Think For Yourself that you don't and you're a sheep. So yeah, it's a little insulting and I'm not enjoying it.
Well, I see that turnabout is not fair play. Fine.
Turnabout is not fair play. What does that mean?
Have you watched the opening to this show?
Yeah, you agree that it's aliens, and we've already been through it, and we used the show in the intro for a tagline and to get people in. I'm not an intro that's 2 minutes long designed to get people in to watch. I'm a person talking to a friend about something that matters to them, to make you think. You go forward and tell people, question me. I want to be sure in myself. I question you, and you tell me I'm a fucking sheep and I'm stupid. And you're right, and all the Bibles are wrong.
It's not accurate to say all the Bibles are wrong. I say all the modern translations have to be wrong. They don't even agree with each other.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure it's one of the rational reasons that you're not a theist is because these things don't agree with each other. I've shown you places, or at least one place, where it's using and as in addition to, and I'm asserting that here it's also using and as to mean in addition to, and then it's not talking about, although I can see how you can read it as three beings. I can see that, obviously. I just don't agree that's what it means.
Yeah, and because I see the same as with everyone else, I'm a sheep. Not the fact that you're wrong. It's me that's the sheep, and the world is wrong, but you're the correct one. You're the only one that sees everything clearly. You're the only one that knows what's going on. And you don't think that you sound like a fucking know-it-all fundamentalist Christian. The only difference is your God's a fucking alien.
Okay, that's fair. Would you tell me that you can see what I'm saying? That you do see that as possible in the text?
I know from talking to you that you believe that this is saying that there's the dragon that's the devil, and there's the beast and the false prophet. And I know that you're saying that these are both the same. I know you're making that statement.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying to you that there's three people, and then you insult my intelligence.
Can you see that it could be two?
I just said, from the knowledge I know of knowing you, if I read this without having that knowledge, no. If I read this having no previous interaction with you or religion or whatever, then no. If I read just this verse and I handed it to someone and they read it, then no. I would say that everybody in them descriptions that I just put forward would read it as three people.
Okay.
And the author
normally people would... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
So people would normally read it as three beings here.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree. I can see that.
I'm not, it's just go on ahead with the rest of it, Richard. You're not seeing it. You're just asking me questions when I'm trying to get you to see something. You're refusing to see it. You can't see it.
What do you mean I'm refusing to see it? I just admitted it.
Okay.
But I've admitted it like 3 different times. Okay. I definitely see what you're saying.
And I've said move on 3 or 4 times, and then you insulted me again and come back again. And I'm saying again, move on. Let's read the rest.
I thought you were playing. I apologize if you weren't playing. I was only playing.
Okay.
If it wasn't funny to you, I apologize.
Oh, I get your apology and all. I don't think you were playing. You were deadly serious about it.
Well, it's not much of a joke if you don't come off as serious.
You take this in a jokey way. I never believe that you don't take this serious.
No, that
and when
part,
you come back with an argument,
this.
when we're having a discussion, and I don't mean argument as in heated voices, I mean arguments and points back and forth. I can tell when you're being serious and when you're not. I've known you.
I perceive you've not been having fun with this, so I've changed my tone. And I apologize if you were actually offended, and it seems that you were.
Yeah. I don't appreciate me intelligence. I don't appreciate being aligned with a sheep. I don't appreciate me intelligence. And yes, that's a hard point for me because I struggle. I tried in university. I have autism. These things struggle with me. I struggle with learning. So when someone insults my intelligence and says that I'm incapable of something, Yeah, that hurts, man. Especially someone like you.
You know, it's one of my regular arguments, which is what I was doing. One of my regular arguments that atheists too often reject parts of Christianity and not all of it. In fact, I said it to Mark Reed on that show with him that he was doing the same thing. And I was only trying to make a point of that. It's not a personal attack.
You're thinking the same as all the rest of the Christians. You're performing a fallacy. Okay.
That's not a personal attack. People do that all the time.
Yeah, it's a direct, talking directly to me.
Well, yes.
Okay. Moving on then, Richard.
So I'm just going to assert that that's two individuals, and that "and" means in addition to, and go on to 14, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And then referring back to the three unclean spirits like frogs, 14. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth into the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day, which that great day is another phrase that's not capitalized movie style and should be, of God Almighty. Because that great day is the same as the great day of the Lord, which is the great day in some parts, meaning end times.
Yeah,
that's how people normally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the reason that they are evil spirits and devils is because it convinces people of the wrong idea. I mean, can an alien spaceship like send down fire from the sky? Oh gosh, that seems totally plausible. And you know, the rest of the quote unquote miracles that are described in the text performed by the beast of Satan, pretty easily justifiable if I say, well, they're just describing spaceships. And then it changes topic at 15.
Behold, I come as a thief. So who's this talking about then?
This is Jesus speaking of himself in 15.
Right. Go for it. Sure, we've not that much left. We'll hang on for a wee bit longer.
Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. So this is the part that we end up talking, not we, you and I, we, myself and Christians often end up talking about, where I point out that it's contradictory if it's talking about a singular Jesus, that it also says in the book of Revelation, I come with the glory, in the glory of God, I cometh on clouds. I come with the clouds. It says those things. Mm-hmm. So this is, I come as a thief.
I come as a thief in the night. That's what I think of. Is that lyrics or a poem or something?
Yeah. Well, it's a decent association, because thieves do normally come in the night, you know, under the hiding of darkness.
And I think I've heard that phrase or something. It's somewhere. I come like a thief in the night. You know,
that's
obviously they
biblical,
go together. Yeah, but
yeah, it's another biblical quote. It's basically the same phrase, right? Yeah, that you can't have a singular Jesus who's both in the glory of God and as a thief. That doesn't make sense. But if it's two or more individuals, it's simple to justify in my view.
But you just said that Jesus can't be a thief. But you just said that also this is Jesus describing himself.
Yeah, he comes as a thief. He doesn't come a thief. He comes as a thief.
That's what I was going to say. Was the as? Was as in the Greek?
I haven't looked that particular one up yet.
The amount of times as has been used in the Bible and other people describing themselves as other things, and you've never looked the word as up.
Oh, I've looked up the word as, but not from this usage right here, this translation. There's a bunch of them. Okay. If I had to guess, behold, I come as a thief is probably look, see, understand. I come forward and probably a thief, probably not as a thief, but basically the same thing. Not that Jesus is a thief; he's not stealing anything, but in secret, in hiding, not obvious. And I think that's majoritively looked at that way, because they can't maintain that Jesus is both, God and a thief. That doesn't make sense. So I think even the majority of Christians would agree with me on that one.
And he gathered them into a place in the Hebrew tongue called Armageddon. Now that's a description. In Armageddon, from what I always understood it, in Armageddon was not a place but a timing frame, like a Sunday or a Monday or a week. It's a description of a period of time. Now, it comes with bad connotations, but it's a period of time from my understanding, not a place.
Right. It's an event in a time. It's not a place on the planet. It could be anywhere on the planet. That wouldn't really matter. So this is roughly comparable. Never mind. The story of Thor and his uncle and etc. So yeah, Armageddon to the Hebrew people, it's the time of destruction. So yeah, you're completely right. It's a time thing.
But what is the relevance then of this particular time using it in a place?
Well, gather them into a place called, in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. That place is this earth in that time.
Oh, I understand that. I get that. I'm just wondering why the author used the phrase into a place rather than, and he gathered them together for, in the Hebrew tongue, what was called Armageddon. That to me would make more sense in an English form. And, if that's what they were trying to say in the text, why is what I'm saying, the word that they used discerned a place. So I'm wondering why the author used a place rather than, like, a time and a place are two, they go together, but they're different.
Mm-hmm. I believe this is referring to how judgment happens on the Stone of Help, which I think is going to be Yellowstone National Park, which is a place on the planet, even though all the planet is in the process of being destroyed in this part of the story. So it is an event time, and it is a singular place that they are gathered to.
Just to be clear, because somebody said something to you in the way that you said something, Uncle Beck, I don't know. I never seen it. So if you were attacked on your live stream for somebody saying and attacking you because you said crazy in jest, then they're an asshole. Everyone must not align with what one prick says. Yes, Richard talks crazy about aliens. I'm not insulting his intelligence. That's true. Richard says mad things about aliens. I have made points and stood up and defended to the point that I do not believe that Richard is crazy. I do not believe that Richard has a bang in his head or something like that there, or any of that. I have defended Richard. When I say being Richard and me and him being friends, when I shout ancient aliens, these are what's called inside jokes and private jokes. I have never insulted Richard's intelligence. So if somebody said to you that you were crazy because you said something, then they're the person with the problem. Alright? I ain't gonna fucking align what anyone else fucking says. I'll do and say what the fuck I want. If you have got problems with it, you can all piss off. Like, people are here to watch me be me. I'm not gonna fucking align to what everybody else tells me to say.
That's fair. I don't really know what they were talking about there. Anyhow, kind of hard for me to tell.
I was just wondering why the author used place instead of a time. I'm not sure of the Greek and I don't read Greek, but I'm just, if they were trying to convey I'm just wondering why place was used.
I think because we're gathered.
Has it ever been used as a place name before?
Well, the word Armageddon is an event. The event is predetermined to happen at a certain time, so it's a time event, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And then the place is judgment, which I think is going to be slightly west of Central America. I know that sounds like U.S. centric. I don't think it is. It's just the only available supervolcano above sea level.
Oh, so we're talking Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, and that's the place. So I think it's both, and I don't think it's argumentative with itself in that way, because Armageddon is an event that happens to the whole planet, and Judgment is an event that happens to the people in a singular place on the planet, from what I can understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we're in agreement. I'm just wondering why the author used that. It's
because it's accurate.
Okay. Well, if it's called a place in this, most of the time it's described as a time place. Most people would be under the understanding it's a time place. Just wondering why he wrote it like that. But anyway, seventh angel. This is the last angel, I'm assuming, since we're hitting 7.
Yep.
Go for it.
7 is the magical number every time. 7 meaning perfection to the Hebrew in numerology. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, which could have been onto the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of the heaven from the throne saying, "That's it, y'all."
Well, what did the seventh one do? Right? Pouring out his vial, is that a description of him making an announcement, or did he actually do anything?
I think these are physical events onto the actuality that we're experiencing right now.
Yes, well, I'm in agreement with that. Yeah, because we talked about vials and medicine and the portraying of biological warfare and different types of warfare. But, you know, and in this particular incident, poured something into the air and a great voice came out of the temple. So in my head, I'm seeing him doing this and a loud noise coming from it in like a magical sort of mythical movie type way. You know, I'm pouring the voice of God out. You understand what I mean? Is it describing something like that, or did he actually pour something out of a vial and then the voice spoke? Are they not really? The only reason that the voice spoke is because the 7th thing was finished. What was the 7th thing, or was the 7th thing the voice?
I think the 7th thing is sucking the oxygen, the atmosphere, right up off the planet, leaving it pretty much like Mars. Just a very thin, very small atmosphere.
So you do believe that the 7th vial being poured something into the air is an actual physical hoover, sucking it all up.
Yep. And unfortunately, here is not mentioned the recovery of the metals. I would have liked it to have been there. I don't think it needs to be there. That would have been nice. But that would have been 8, and 8's too many. But anyhow, yeah, that it's again consistent with it itself, speaking about it colloquially or in a fantastical way, like a fairy tale, saying it's a vial, but it's something the angels literally do to the planet.
Right. So we've got a great voice coming out of the temple of from heaven and saying it's done. Now I'm going to assume that you believe that that's the Father.
That seems reasonable. Yeah, I would say that's the Father.
And then there were voices and thunders and lightnings. Now, is the angels then singing and dancing as more people? Is this screaming in torture as we run out of air? Who is the other voices?
I think this is another one of those recaps that I referred to early on in this series. It doesn't say "and then there were." It says "and there were." So there's no time frame given here. We could assume that because it follows literarily, that it follows also chronologically. I just don't think I can justify that in my view of this.
Mm-hmm.
And there were voices and thunders and lightnings. There was a great earthquake, which the great earthquake, we just went back to the first event. such as was not since, I'm sorry, great earthquake is the last event. Voices, thunderings, lightnings, there we went back. And of course, the great earthquake, the last thing, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty a earthquake and so great, which would make sense if you removed the oceans. So yes, the very, very small percentage, I'm sorry, there is a percentage that physically, which does not speak to their spirit and their judgment, do perish with the planet. Some 31.5 thousand people, mathematically from this text, will die with the planet, which is not the same as their damnation. Proud Christians like to assume that because they want to be special. I don't assume that.
You do want to be special.
Everyone wants to be loved and accepted. I don't know what special means. Everyone's special by default.
Okay, right. Well, I'm going to explain this. Here's an issue, right? You just did assume and know what it means by a special because you used it in an insult to a Christian. So I'm talking about that term. So when a Christian thinks that they're special to God, in that definition, when I talk back to you and I say to you, will you think you're special? I'm using the same definition that you just used. You are one of the few people, you are one of the few people, if any, under your religious beliefs that have access to this information and have been made aware of what's going on. So that's what Christians feel.
I don't think I'm special. I think I have a privilege that I have to honor.
Would you say that Christians think the same?
Probably.
Right. Okay. So then, point still stands.
I don't know. I don't think I'm special. Not in that same way, like I'm better than you, or I go to heaven and you don't, or something like that.
I'm not talking fucking American Christians. I don't think the Christians over here think that they're better than us. You know, like say fundamentalist American Christians walk around with their nose in the air thinking that they're better than people, you know. But every Christian that I would talk to over here who believes truly that they're a Christian and not a cultural thing would be under that, you know, I'm special because I have a relationship with God.
You know, I maintain that you have a relationship with God. You just don't call it God.
Probably parasocial. Man's in charge, doesn't give me enough hugs.
I'm just saying, I think all humans, you know, as long as they're not an infant, and by infant, I mean perhaps below 5 years old, or handicapped. And I'm not blaming the handicapped. They had no choice. I'm not diminishing the handicapped. They just are not average. That's all. May not experience
average. I don't
God.
like the word average. I would say that I would say they're a minority in the population because that's a fact. Like, you know, I don't know.
Okay.
Weird way.
So they're definitely a distinguishable minority. That's for certain. Okay.
We're a group of people.
And that those persons also might not have a relationship with God. They may, but they may not. But on average, I think every normative operating adult has a relationship with God. They just don't call it God. They call it things like subconscious, intuition. They call it things like that. But I think it's a relationship with God.
And you see, when you say relationship with God, everybody in the chat is going to think a physical person first and foremost, without the context of knowing you, right? Oh. You know, so I could make the statement, yes, I agree with you, Richard, because I know what you mean when you say God. But if you said something different, like most people are not going to agree with you, and I'd say 90% of the atheists in the chat, even knowing your context, still wouldn't agree with you because they forget that. It's not something that's always in their mind. So when you say a relationship with God, you mean people acting in a certain way that aligns with these ideas that you describe as God.
Sure, normally called humanitarianism.
Yeah, so there you go, right? That's the thing, you know, it's quicker to go to humanitarianism than it would be to God. You would get a better description to other people.
Well, let me be more specific. I also think they have a relationship with the Father or some guardian angel that they perceive as their subconscious or inner self, or Akashic records or ancestors or any number of ways. So not only do people majoritively act as humanitarians, valuing wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, and conservation, not only do they do that, but they also get inner hints as to guidance for life from the Father and from the Satan, or their guardian angel or a demon or whoever is interacting with them.
When you make it so encompassing, it number one takes away from its power, so to speak, because everybody has it and everybody calls it something different. Then it doesn't really matter, right? You know, it sort of loses it
for now.
But describing it that way and saying that everyone else doesn't have an understanding of it, but that you do, sort of is a description of saying I'm special without saying I'm special. The entire world gets it this way, but I get it the true way. I have direct contact.
I'm trying to use commonality of terms.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't an insult, just to be clear. I'm not saying that you are claiming to be special. I'm just saying from an outsider's point of view, if you say the entire world thinks this thing and I think that 1 + 1 = 3, you're special, you know?
Well, it probably could be proven I'm special. Anyway, but I haven't been with a psychologist since I was like 12.
I want to get a question in here from Iron Charioteer. What do you think of Elaine Pagel, if I've pronounced that correctly, biblical historicist, saying that Revelation is just another apocalyptic text and that Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher? Can I answer that before you do? I'd say that, you know, she needs to get a better job, because is that not what everybody thinks, that Revelations is an apocalyptic text and that Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher? She doesn't sound special. What do you think of me saying that? Right. Go on ahead, Richard.
Also, Daniel is apocalypsis. It's a genre of literary works within religion.
I'd like to read Daniel with you sometime. I don't think I can't.
It's the same as this, just slightly different words.
I've nothing though. It would be interesting.
Yeah, I think you'd find it boring, actually. I do. It's okay. Maybe Daniel is different for the reason that Daniel represents the Christ in a first-person experience and what he goes through. And in that way is slightly more interesting, but it's just the same story.
And would I not be right in saying that, I'm not saying fallacy, but do a lot of people not believe that Daniel would be one of the very, very older books? You know, one of the more older books from the Bible. Am I not right in saying that?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right.
From a time scale point of view, you know, the story of Daniel is supposedly, you know, younger than Revelations, younger than, you know what I mean? It's
certainly.
old.
It's the Jews have that story.
Yeah.
It's part of their Nevi'im. It's the prophets. So yeah, definitely older than the New Testament, no doubt.
I've no idea when Daniel was written. As I say, I'm not a scholar, but I don't know if it was 200 or 6,000 or 600. Sorry, I just know or have heard that it's one of the more older books, you know.
I'd say it goes back to Zoroastrianism. I would say the story of Daniel goes all the way back into yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's I believe that Daniel is represented in the constellation Orion. You want to go back that far?
Yeah. Well, you see, that could be interesting. I have a few different things for Series 5 in mind. I'm not too sure, you know.
Okay.
Christianity's boring the shit out of me as usual. I like the crazy stuff better. I'm still waiting for my acid trip. The acid has not dropped yet.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Really bad acid.
Where are we at here?
And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities and the nations fell, and great Babylon came into remembrance before God. Now, Babylon, you would say, is what?
Oh, the whole of this planet. The description of Babylon, the definition of Babylon, And this is why Christians kind of perceive that they call it a living word, which means it still keeps applying. Mm-hmm. What they don't see is it didn't used to apply. It only applies now. That's the part they don't see.
So I say that again.
It seems that traditional Christians don't see that it wasn't true, and it's only true now. For instance, when in the history of this planet have all people been able to communicate with each other through a common language? When did that ever happen? Never. Except internet.
Well, I wouldn't even say internet. I would say mathematics. But
no. It specifically says terminate language, like the final language, which I think is math.
Well, math's the only truly universal language if you want to use language as that thing. You know, I think Stargate SG-1 did it really well in Series 1 with the story of Fred. You obviously haven't seen this episode, but he got trapped on a planet and he was stuck there for 70 years. They couldn't get back to him. They thought that he was gone, right? They then out going back to him and he'd been alone for 70 years, right? Walked around all by himself. Where he had been left was basically, to make a correlation you'd understand, was the old UN quarters, right? So the headquarters of the UN, but planetary, where there was 5 major races came together. And in the main auditorium, we'll call it, there's a thing in the middle. And when you hit it, it holographically projected the basic mathematical elements up onto, around you. And they basically used that and math to create a universal translator for, they could describe what this is, and we call this, then this, and then you get your context and all the rest of it, and that's how they created a universal translator. Well, between these 5 races, I thought it was interesting.
Sure, no, I think that's true in reality. That math is unique as a language, and extremely usable as a way to describe reality. Okay,
now on that, and we'll fly through the last 2 episodes, last 2 verses here. Are you using the idea that the fact that the Bible says that the aliens will come back when there's one language, when everybody speaks or does or whatever, right? So you're using that as a time frame, right? And you're saying the internet and math, and you're applying it to now, okay? Mm-hmm. Because it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. From the
much everywhere,
almost everywhere, right? 0.2% or something, or 2% of the world, or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah,
people have been communicating in math across languages since the 1800s.
Yep. That is true. However, up until now, we could not do anything we imagined to do because we didn't have that kind of immediacy. We didn't have literally the speed of radio wave communication. We didn't have that.
We had telegraph.
Yeah, telegraph was all. There's no overseas telegraph cables. We had that in the developed countries' land masses.
I'm pretty sure there was overseas telegraph between America and England.
Eventually, there was.
Yeah.
So
the
America
point is,
and
the point
England
I'm
had
making,
immediacy.
The point I'm making, though, it was around for ages. Why is that time where you're like, your problem is we can't communicate at light speed across the water? Well, we did with telegraph. We were only, right? So why did the aliens not come then? Why are they coming now in the next 20 years?
I think in order to stay with that idea, that the text would have had to read something like, and they poured copper instead of baked tiles. But what it does read is baked tiles, not poured copper. So
everybody who's lived has lived in the most technological advanced time.
Of course.
Right? So you could, they did bake tiles, and other people before them did pour copper.
Yeah, well, yeah, we have poured copper and we have baked
Yes,
tiles,
but
but
you can take two things, and the point is that time scale, these descriptions of a time scale can be moved to here, to here, to here. It's just a smarter person describing a past person. It doesn't matter. What I'm asking is about the technological level. And if I could end on this in a question for you to think about, right? You say let's say the aliens came, in your opinion, 20 years from now, whatever it is.
or less.
I would say if the aliens came probably about 100 years ago, maybe 150 years. Yeah, probably before the Second World War, right? I want to make it before the World Wars, okay?
Oh, well.
A lot more people would have been religious. A lot more people would have lined up. A lot more people would have been, I don't want to say easier to subjugate because, that's what I think. But I'd say that they wouldn't have had to leave anyone behind. The general education of the world was an awful lot less. People in mainstream believed still in magic and ghosts and spirits and, not so much as what people do now. Hello, Electro! I don't know why I said it like that. I was reading it like that. Is that the way it's supposed to sound? Who knows? I'd say that the level of education now has a certain amount of skepticism built into it. Kids are taught to ask questions and shit like that there. You'd have got an awful lot more of the masses if you'd have came 150 years ago.
I completely disagree. Here's why.
Blow my mind.
If it were what they were expecting, you'd be right. But if it's not what they're expecting traditionally in their religion, you'd want them to kind of get out of the religion and start to doubt it and be more informed and ask better questions.
And then you end up with the empire. And that's how I fall back on the empire with the fucking rebellion and shit. Because I think they've left it too long. The people have went too far.
That's hard to say. That is really hard to say. Okay, because
see, there you go. I just succeeded in the entire reason that I do this show. To make you fucking think.
Which is great. I appreciate that. Okay, so I think that if they poofed out of existence into some other ethereal plane, then the better time to do it would have been when they were more religious and less educated. However, if it's not magic and it is technology, you want to wait as long as you can to get them to the highest level of technology that they naturally achieve before introducing yourself. It's like the Fermi paradox. Statistically, there should be aliens. Why haven't we actually met any of them? Why haven't they just arrived here in big spaceships and said, howdy, we're aliens? Why didn't they? It's because we were friggin' retarded.
So basically, right, what you're saying is the aliens are lazy. Right?
No.
The aliens are lazy because they don't want to train us how to use elevators and fucking remote controls. So it's like, let them train themselves, and when they're not fucking whatever, it's easier on them.
I'll go with lazy, sure.
But it must be lazy, man. These people have complete control of genetics and can increase our intelligence and give us a new body. All right? It has to be laziness.
Well, that's just freeing your actual genetics that aren't coding right now. That's not giving you anything except for your own freedom.
If you give a 5-year-old the ability to understand astrophysics, it would freak them out a wee bit.
Yeah, I think there's a certain level of development that's required to understand certain ideas. And I think we're being allowed that time to develop that. Or we have been allowed that time to develop that. That's my assertion, and I'm sticking to it.
And I didn't listen to it because I was typing in the chat. Can you make your assertion again?
Okay. I'm used to being ignored. It's fine.
I wasn't ignoring you. That's not true.
It was a joke.
I know. I'm smiling.
Come on, that was an obvious joke. Come on.
That's why
now.
I'm smiling.
Okay.
Right. Every island fled away, the mountains were not found, and there fell upon men a great hail out of the heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. What the fuck's a talent? And
Talent is about 57 pounds of silver. Depends on where you read, but on average, I'm going to
it
say
is an
57
actual
pounds.
specific usage of weight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And men blasphemed God because the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. So shit be just firestorms and balls.
Yeah, well, if you remove all the oceans and land masses were becoming liquid quite rapidly, I'd expect a bunch of rocks to be in the sky.
Yeah, no, I can see. It's annoying. I don't want to say it's annoying, but I can see your point of view about the summary at the end, and the fact that we've now argued over our discrepancies in our different religions because I've went and started a new one, demolish the demolished doctrine, and difference of opinion from what's flying out of the sky. Yeah, I can see your point of view. Never had a lack of seeing your point of view. I ask questions sometimes because I don't want to tell you a statement, all right? I don't want to say to you, Richard, the sky is blue, and never open the curtains. I want to ask you what color the sky is, knowing that it's blue, and you go to the fucking curtains and open it. So that's sometimes why I don't just scream the answer at you. And sometimes why it's frustrating and shit like that. Because I'm not technically asking a question, although I'm hoping and finding and wanting that you get to the point where I am through your own understanding. Because if I scream an answer at you, then I didn't teach you anything. I didn't teach you to think. I didn't help you to think. I just told you to think what I'm thinking. And it gets frustrating sometimes because I know you're a smart man. And it's your self-bias that annoys me because you can't see what I can see through these questionings, which a lot of people can, because it's so engulfing to you. You know, this entire thing is so engrossed and ingrained in everything that you do. And I don't want you to fucking die sad on your fucking bed, 50, hugging, and you being like,
I find that amusing.
The aliens aren't here. It was supposed to be funny. I ain't gonna hug your dead body. You're all crippling. But if you're annoyed and it didn't happen and all the rest of it, I don't want you to be pissed off. I want you to have inner peace,
No, I'll just go back to motorcycles and loose women and alcohol.
When you're dead?
No, I mean in 20 years from now.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I don't think I'll be dead in 20 years.
Hopefully. I'll go well.
I'll be a sexy grandpa age dude in 20 years. Or great grandpa, I guess. Oh, we skipped a line. If we could go over that real quick. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the city and the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. His being God there should be capitalized. 3 parts. There's believers, non-believers, and undecided. It's 3 parts. The unbelieving, well, they work on the undecided. That's the purpose of the testimony, and the 144,000 and the 12, the Jesus, and the Jesus. So, and you did mention Babylon and what I think.
We just cut the last wee bit off. The last wee bit was of the cup. I read it in my head, even though we didn't discuss it. But giving the cup of the wine and the fierceness of his wrath is giving something to the God, giving something to Father, and all the rest of it. Damn, the porn bots are flying the night.
Oh my God!
I assume that is the stripping of the planet, because you said about the preparing of it with the oxygen being removed before,
Yeah. The whole idea, give her back what she gave you double. No respect. It's hey, don't respect the planet. It ain't gonna be there for you. Pretty much like that.
Why would you respect something you can just create another one of? I don't respect my toast. Right. I don't respect my dinner.
If I burn it, I'll try again.
I'll just make another one. Yeah. And if I eat it all up and we use it all, we just go get another one. Because, why would I respect something I can create as easy like that?
That's actually probably a pretty good representation of how the angels would look at it. Yeah. Hard for us to see that from our perspective.
Oh no, I see it from our perspective. I'm more important than the spuds. Has anyone seen Sausage Party? Them little fuckers don't deserve it. And I'm gonna, oh man, it's insane. It's the food comes to life. They then give fucking people angel dust, and then they can hear them talking. And at the end of it, they attack and kill all the humans in the shop, and then have an orgy. It's insane. Sausage Party. Go watch. Not sponsored.
Okay.
Off stream, I'll show you the last scene, and it'll freak you out. Right. On that note, everybody, thank you for coming back. Thank you for seeing. As always, there's some sort of a fucking emotional outburst, whether it's shouting or crying or all of the above. I appreciate everybody coming back. Appreciate seeing all the new people here and coming in, and different belief systems and shit coming in. I really do appreciate the audience that we're trying to get here and build upon here, you know, where people can have a conversation and disagree to the point where he's an asshole. He really is an asshole. He hits my buttons. Motherfucker hits my buttons. Is Derek there tonight?
No, he hadn't dropped by today.
Right. Anyway, do come back on Saturday if I can think of a topic. I've been thinking of a few for Saturday. So if we can get an open panel going on Saturday, everybody's always welcome. We'll be back here next Tuesday for this bullshit. And yeah, as I say, if anybody, we're thinking of getting a group of people together for New Year's Eve and bringing the New Year's Eve in together and shit like that. I'll be in St. Louis. I know it's an awful lot for people in America sometimes on a big drive or whatever, or a wee bit of a cost. But if we can get upwards of 10 people, 12 people together, then we should be able to rent something quite nice. You know, a wee Airbnb mini mansion with like a pool table and a bar or shit, and just hang out for a couple of days together and bring in the year together, you know, religious, non-religious. It's a point of time in everyone's life culturally where we all make decisions to be better and make decisions to be going forward and doing all these things. So if anyone's around St. Louis on New Year's Eve, contact me in Discord, Twitter. You know, don't be a freak, okay? Don't be sliding into my DMs with like freaky shit. But yeah, if we know you and you're not gonna murder us in the middle of the night, let me know. We'll hang out. We'll do something. You know, Richard will all hopefully going well might be there. You know, Uncle Back will be there. Bree will be there. I'll be there. You know, it should be fun. It should be fun. So on that note, don't be a sheep. Think for yourself. Richard's links and shits in the descriptions. Go and check out Richard. And yeah, we'll see you all on Saturday. Bye bye.